invited to speculate about the future, and the starting point was this buzzword of a multilingual information space in which we live and in which we act. And I would like to add to all the things which have been said yesterday and today another dimension, and that's a social dimension. I want to add it. It's in addition to what was said already. And it refers back to what Reinhard Karger yesterday said. We need to explain people what's our vision. What do we strive for? What do we want to achieve? This could be scientific achievement, like in all these physics experiments. They never promise that there will be any real use of knowing what all these elementary particles are about. That's one thing. I doubt that we can promise breakthrough scientific insights from computational linguistics point of view. But in the past, we mostly promised useful applications. And so I'm now concerned with this issue of useful application. Traditionally, when dealing with multilinguality, you have a translation approach. There's a document. In order to make it accessible, you translate it, and then you consume it by the intended audience. That's kind of, I would call multilinguality as a service. There are people and you provide a service to them. Actually, by doing so, you are hiding multilinguality from people, not bringing it to people. The user in that case remains completely passive. It has no contribution at all to deliver. The setting is actually a monolingual one, in the sense that you are hiding all aspects of where the document came from and how it has been transformed into the form it is presented to the user. Contrary to that, people are active persons. They can learn. They can learn even other languages. They can actively participate, not only passively consume something. And people can and should become aware of language diversity. And even people can be involved in the process of creating truly multilingual documents. What a truly multilingual document in my sense is, I will explain in a minute. I will call this the apple juice experience. Whenever I go out and buy a package of apple juice, nowadays I will be provided with a translation of the product information into 15 to 20 languages. It depends on the company you buy the things. And this creates curiosity, at least for me. I'm always studying, how is apple juice expressed in Polish, for instance? Is there any difference to check? Where is the difference? What's the difference to Ukrainian language, to the Russian language? Things like that. So reading or consuming documents is learning. It's also learning about the language which is spoken elsewhere. And learning is easiest if it is not carried out in a formal setting like a classroom, but it is carried out in everyday actions, in everyday situations you are placed in at your workplace, where you have to deal with documents in order to carry out your tasks, or while you're accessing newscasts, for instance, or while you are studying product information, like in the apple juice case. And exploring this multilingual information space can help us to find out differences between different languages. And we learn something, not about one particular language, but about the relationships between several languages, sometimes very close relatives to each other. And the technology requirements for achieving this are not extremely high. All you need is to have truly multilingual documents. And by that, I don't imagine a translated document, but a highly cross-linked document where you can follow on a phrase level what's the corresponding expression in the other language, in order to trace it back, for instance, to the origin. How it was translated into this language, how it was translated into that language. And perhaps you need some online access to lexical or terminological databases to get explanations, to get translations, and things like that. So that's not particularly ambitious. A second aspect is by having such multilingual documents, truly multilingual documents, you could enhance information quality. Usually information quality depends on the credibility of the information source, who has written something and how well informed this person was. But not only, in a multilingual society, it also depends on the subsequent processing chains, like cross-checking the information, like proofreading the text, and like translating it. And as we all know, good translations are rare. In many cases, translations are bad. And the more languages are involved, the more you have to live with bad translations, be it by machine translation, be it by human translation. And people should be made aware of such quality differences, also with respect to the text quality, the language quality of the text they are consuming. But now, having such a cross-linked document available, we can explore the space, we can see the differences between a professional translation and a bad translation, for instance. And if something happens to be strange with a translation into your language, you can cross-check it with other languages, how it has been translated into the other language, but maybe correcting translation mistakes by doing so. Technology requirements, again, are very low-profile ones. All you need is an annotation of the text with respect to who has produced this version. Is it the original text? Is it a professional translation? Is it a peer translation in a social network, for instance? Or is it a machine translation, or maybe other categories? The third thing I want to mention is the Web to Zero lesson. The Web to Zero lesson is getting people involved in the process. Don't keep them as passive recipients. Make them active. And users can contribute translations in such a multilingual information space, or they can edit existing ones whenever they feel they are of low quality. And again, the technology requirements are very low. It's just offering access as we have it in Wikipedia. Of course, there's always the problem of violence, of vandalism in such an environment, and you need some form of social control to keep it limited. So what's the challenge then? We are talking about challenges here. It's certainly not the technology. All what we have available so far has its place in such a framework. So we need multilingual offering tools which support this cross-linking approach. We need rich web interfaces which can deal with multi-level annotations without burying the user in too much information or detail, which provides information only when needed and requested. We need interactive websites, all these things we have available. We need text alignment procedures. We need online access to lexical resources. We can include machine translation approaches and whatever you want. Text critic system, all this can be deployed here. So what's the challenge then? And I consider the challenge is developing standards and creating a common infrastructure. That's one thing. That's the more technical side. Establishing a common acceptance is already a more difficult thing to achieve. You need strong partners to do so, and that becomes obvious if you look at the cultural the changes which are necessary in cultural attitudes. All our information society is devised as a monolingual one. We have monolingual newspapers, we have monolingual TV stations. There is no truly multilingual information providing company. Yeah? At best, there are translations. So that requires that you have truly multilingual news channels or encyclopedia. Imagine Wikipedia not as a translation, or no, it's not even a translation, not as the existence of parallel information universes, but as cross-linked information universes. Or you can imagine document repositories at your workplace. So the idea is not to have translated version of documents, but cross-linked ones. And cross-linked at a very fine level of granularity. So the benefit would be that multilinguality is no longer a problem, but it is an experience, it's an opportunity, it's an adventure even. Yeah? You can explore a space of information which was not available earlier. It can help to raise a kind of multilingual proficiency and competence, educating people better to deal with linguistic diversity and linguistic differences. Hopefully also contribute to more friendly interhuman relationships. And you can learn to cope with linguistic diversity. And after all, in the end, the whole idea is based on the vision that this infrastructure might become obsolete because people are so educated that we are able to deal with a multitude of different languages. And it's now a small font that was not intended, so my message is we should try to turn multilinguality into a competitive advantage. And competitiveness does not mean here, first of all, economic advantage that could translate into an economic advantage as well. But what I have in mind is qualifications of people like intercultural competence, which is very high valued when it comes to selecting people for certain positions. A multilingual, or I don't know any better place to learn intercultural competence but such a multilingual information space. So that was my vision.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. Turning multilinguality into a competitive advantage. That is not the dream, that's the fact, and we just have to do it. And we have a little bit of time to get into a discussion if we want to do it. It is a fact that if you start to talk, everybody has a question, so then we can talk about it. And maybe there will be one. But the competitive advantage and multilinguality, if you look at India, they have the same problem. If we have the right technology, they will love it and they will buy it. And again, it's good for preventing social climate change. Hans.
Actually, I was hoping that...
Oops. It's muted. I'm sorry.
So actually, I was hoping that maybe one of my colleagues from the theMETAnk Plus project would say something, because I didn't want to talk so much today. So would you first react to that maybe, and then otherwise I could do it?
Yeah. Volunteered.
Does this work at all?
Yeah.
Thanks for this very nice talk. And actually, I don't have a question. I just would like to make the small remark that we're on a good way to exactly this vision with our project. And we share the vision. And especially the Wiki-Trans part of the theMETAnk Plus project is actually trying to exploit the spirit of Wikipedia, which is a very collaborative spirit, and turn it into an asset for building the multilingual pool of resources. And I think, we're on a very promising way here. And the interesting thing is that actually we don't really need that huge amounts of money. We don't need billions and what's the next higher?
Trillions
of euro to do it. We just need a lot of highly motivated people who want to help the community to make advantage on this promising path. And yeah, I like it very much.
All right, thank you, Andreas. I have a question over here.
Okay, well, I was at a loss for a second there. I couldn't envisage myself, in spite of my interest in multilinguality, sitting with comparative scenarios and reading through both of them. And then I came up with an application, and I actually do this regularly. When I'm in a country where I do not understand the language perfectly, but I do to some degree, I will insist on getting the manual both translated and as an original. And this is the only application I can think of for this area, because frankly, as a human being, reading information in two languages requires me to need it. And I don't need it if I understand one of the languages.
But don't you have the fun part? I mean, I know the apple juice. No, I really know the apple juice experience and the what is it, the merci thing, where you have all these nice languages, and it's maybe my fault.
Okay, just a remark. I don't know whether I am a strange person, but for me it's interesting, yeah? And it's a space you can explore, where you can make nice, interesting findings. Yeah? So maybe that's a strange habit for a normal person. I can't judge about this. But I see a necessity, and the necessity is you want to have access to a certain document. Yeah? And you don't have, or to certain content, you don't have direct access in your mother tongue. As we have heard yesterday, there are 23 official languages, but 50-something unofficial ones. Yeah? Mostly these unofficial ones have a close similarity to other languages, to the official ones. So many people are in a situation that they roughly have to grasp the meaning of a document. And then such a multilingual structure could help to better grasp the content. Yeah? And that's a real necessity, at least as I see it.
So let me just add one remark. There has been recently the proposal to translate in Europe everything, yeah? all the web pages, everything first automatically, and then have it all been in a stacked and accessible, and people can improve it all the time. Yeah, they can improve it all the time. Of course, if you find now a human translation of it, you take that human translation. Yeah, you search for it, and the methods for finding hidden parallel text that are not marked as such, but can be found using information retrieval methods, have improved quite a bit. So this is mainly how Google now gets their data. Yeah, they go beyond the obvious parallel text and find lots of hidden translations, even in books, even in printed material that were scanned in. Yeah? So that could be something that, and you could start and you could do it. And people point out that's computationally not very difficult, yeah, to translate with lots of machines that work overnight, just the web in 23 or 50 or so languages, so everything you find, yeah. And then people could work on it. But this, of course, not as far as you wanted to go,
yeah.
Right? Or is it?
No, I want to one step further. That results in a repository of parallel texts.
Yeah. And now you link them. Now you
have to link them.
But would you also
to make it
say
explorable.
every text? You would also say every text, yeah? No.
As resources allow. Yeah,
or just a bottle? No, not just things on bottles, but everything.
I prefer an open approach. First, start with something and see how it grows.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a proposal. You want to? No. I have one proposal now to make for the common for the further program. The next on our hidden agenda would be Manfred Pinker. But there's actually another talk that would link thematically very nice to this one by Felix Sasaki. Right? Would you? Could we switch then? Yeah.
Okay. So Peter Helwig.
regarding what this is good for, I think we should put it at the systematic place where it belongs. In my opinion, it is computer-aided language learning. I mean, that we all need multilingual competence, that's true, and there are lots of efforts, and this is a magnificent tool in the framework of computer-aided language learning. And we should mention that is actually a core idea, isn't it?
No surprise, CALL is one of my favorite ideas. Yeah, so it certainly is a question of educating people. That's my primary goal. Yeah.
This is one question. If you go Web 2.0, then you run into all the social problems, if there are problems at all of Web 2.0. That is the creation of communities, sub-communities, maybe contrast, consensus, etc. Can you elaborate on that? I mean, if you have all this data and you want to manage them by social intelligence, by exploiting social intelligence, I guess that is the real interesting aspect of this move. Can you elaborate on this point?
So the question was how to get access to documents which are not openly, publicly available, or what was... Yeah, the same in the other direction.
Okay. Oh, do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah.
Make it more understandable. My question is, you said that we have everything in place for going Web 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Technically. My question, or my challenge is not, maybe yes, maybe not, because the kind of tools that you have provided are a simple extension, sort of straightforward extension from the single individual to maybe a plurality of individuals for interfaces, interoperability, etc. But when you turn from one individual managing data or providing intelligence, knowledge, to a host of individuals, then you are going social networking. You might expect that some individuals might agree on a specific point while others disagreeing. You might expect to see, therefore, subgroups emerging, leadership, contrasts, etc. This is a sort of challenge. Mine is a sort of challenge. So what about this aspect? If you make this, in this case, linguistic or any other kind of knowledge available to the community, but not really community, maybe the layperson, you might expect this to arise.
Okay, yeah, certainly that's true. As I mentioned, the challenges are not the technical issues, but the social questions, and that's one of the major questions. I could imagine that, first of all, one tries these things in closed societies, where you have interest groups, for instance, where you can assume that they will be able to handle the social problems in a peaceful manner, because they are sharing the same goal. Yeah? Wikipedia is an attempt to extend this to a more public area. I don't know, that would be the next step for me, to try it on a level similar to Wikipedia. But still, you know all the problems with edit wars in Wikipedia. It's a serious problem, yeah? And it's a social problem. You will find to have social solutions to this problem.
So you said turning multilinguality into a competitive advantage. That is one. That's sort of the one very important sentence. And then bring the people in.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't think so much about social problems. These are social chances. Right. And I guess the people would like it, and I guess they would like to participate, they would love to collaborate, but there is no chance, and they don't know, and they are not invited, and so therefore we are in Berlin to invite the people. It's the right city for that, and we will have the best ideas to do it. Are there more questions? And then I would say, thank you very much, Wolfgang Menzel.